Morning. The finance minister will be delivering his maiden budget speech on Wednesday. Well, it seems Eskom's finances will top the agenda, but Tito Mboweni has plenty of other headaches, with several other state-owned enterprises also in trouble. Well, to get at least one view or one perspective from business, I'm joined in the studio by Sizwe Mbele. He heads up strategy at Business Leadership South Africa, that's BLSA, which is a grouping of some of the country's top businesses, many of whom, of course, listed on the stock exchange. Mr. Mbele, good morning, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Just an overriding question first. I mean, overall, what do you think business wants to see Mr. Mboweni say on Wednesday?
So I think the business community would like to see more of a congruency from the very promising State of the Nation address by the President, to say that there's an alignment between those two leaders. Of course, we've seen that the State President spoke at large, mainly about the establishment of the unit within the National Director of Public Prosecution, which will also look at the prosecution and investigation.
So that means business is still concerned about corruption and how government is going to deal with it?
Absolutely, because we believe that people need to be held accountable. But also fundamental to that, we want to see that Mr. Tito Mboweni, as the finance minister, has been running a number of colloquia from December to January to look at the growth agenda, of course. So we'd like to see in terms of those sectors that will be targeted. And of course, everyone knows that there is a question of land reforms. So we'd like to see some money being allocated to that. There are some issues with regard to the education, early childhood development. And of course, we need to spend within our own means in terms of fiscal consolidation. So those are the most pressing matters that we would like to see some meat being provided. State-owned enterprises remain the key area, not only for driving growth and development, but also everyone knows, specifically with Eskom, that there's been some pronouncements on that. So we'd like to see much more details, because we believe that they are in this perpetual debt of over 420 billion South African rands.
Okay, a couple of things you've mentioned that I want us to go back to. Let's start with the state-owned enterprises, Eskom in particular, and others. We know they go to the treasury with cap in hand. And you mentioned about fiscal discipline. You mentioned about less expenditure. How do you think Mr. Mboweni would be able to balance that? I mean, what would you hope for as business? Less state expenditure to make sure that the deficit is managed well, or spending in the right places to assist economic growth?
So we believe that there is no scope for additional tax raise, both from the corporate as well as individual.
So business will not be happy if he raises taxes?
No, absolutely, because if one observes what's been happening in the past few years, you see that there's been a number of leakages, especially when it comes to the Auditor General report. So we would like to say that at least we need to arrest those leakages. But also when it comes to those, people need to be held accountable, because not only the fruitless and wasteful expenditure from the top up to the state-owned enterprises.
When you say leakages, you're referring to what the Auditor General most times talks about as wasteful and irregular expenditure, where money is going somewhere but nobody knows where.
Yes, so the key issue, Braden, is that the money needs to be found within the existing expenditure. There is money that is available, it's just that we are spending it in the wrong places. And when business believes that we need to make sure that people are held accountable, but also looking in terms of how do we spend within our means. Fiscal consolidation is key, because not only are we looking internally, but our rating agencies will be looking on how we manage within our tight expenditure.
So basically business might be saying, I'm not trying to put words into your mouth, instead of giving us another tax increases of sorts or levies, whatever, Mr. Tito Mboweni, look at how you as government can clean up your act and manage your finances better.
Our state of the economy dictates that not only business, government and labor needs to now work on inclusive growth. Business needs to take pain, labor needs to take pain, so as the government. We believe that the government is quite bloated on the cabinet side, but also in the state-owned enterprises and up to the municipality. So there is money that needs to be consolidated within those. This is what we call the defensive macroeconomic measures, to say that now the debt to GDP is fast approaching the 60% when it comes to the excluding the liabilities. So we need to spend within our means.
You say everybody must take pain. What kind of pain is business prepared to take?
Business has already been working very closely with the presidency in terms of driving the investment, because we believe that bringing much more companies and MNCs that will be looking at investing in this country. But we also believe that now is the right time to look at those assets that are non-strategic, so that those strategic assets needs to be consolidated. But also we are quite encouraged by what the president spoke about when he spoke about the reconfiguration of the government, for instance. We believe that when it comes to that, there are areas where some ministries as well as some state-owned enterprises.
Yeah, but that's not business. I mean, what is the pain what are the sacrifices you think South African business should make to assist to reignite the economy?
Business is willing to look at the sectors that we can drive on those. We believe that in as much as many countries are reducing some corporate taxes, business, of course, they will say these taxes that we have, we need to be redirected in other areas. We are not looking for tax breaks, because if you look at Arab market, for example, in US, UK, Netherlands, some areas needs to be looked at. So business also is also looking at taking much more on the youth employment.
I was about to say job creation should therefore be top of mind for South African business.
It is top of mind because our youth unemployment, it's got all the elements of Arab Spring. It's hovering around 53 to 57%, and business is already committed on schemes like the YES, the youth employment schemes. The Harambee is actually doing very well, but we are also looking at taking much more of those youth. We are quite encouraged that the number of businesses are saying that they are looking at the youth not only in terms of experience, but how can we redirect. But then let me also emphasize that we are working very closely with the Department of Home Affairs as well as COCTA in terms of how do we build the state capacity. I'm quite also encouraged that through organization with ASISA, there is something that is called a TEMDEV, which is technical assistance, mentoring and development, whereby skilled individuals, also resources from business, they are saying that people that are retired and semi-retired, that they are willing to capacitate the state, because state building capacity is key.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, we'll see what comes out on Wednesday. We're sure we'll get a reaction as well from business after Wednesday. That's Mr. Sizwe Mbele, the head of strategy at Business Leadership South Africa.